There is a certain type of presence that cannot be explained in words. You've seen it before. A man enters the room, and without speaking, every eye subtly shifts toward him. He doesn't demand attention, yet attention belongs to him. He doesn't announce his arrival, yet his presence feels louder than anyone else's voice. That phenomenon isn't an accident. It's not about fancy clothes or loud behavior. It's something far deeper, something forged from the inside out. That is power. True power begins where words end. It lives in the silent spaces between movement and gaze. The man who carries this aura understands something most will never grasp. Influence does not come from chasing it, but from becoming the kind of person who attracts it naturally. When you build this type of energy, you don't need to shout, you don't need to beg, and you don't need to prove. People feel it before they even hear you speak. Most men will never experience this because they misunderstand what power truly is. They think it's about domination, about fear, about controlling others. But real influence, the kind that bends people without force, is not rooted in aggression. It is rooted in mastery, mastery of self. When you can walk into any room calm, composed, unshaken, and aligned with purpose, you emit an energy that others cannot ignore. This isn't mysticism, it's psychology. People respond to certainty. They respond to strength that doesn't need validation. They respond to someone who doesn't need the room, but instead, the room needs him. Why does this happen? Because human beings are wired to sense hierarchy and strength. Not physical strength alone, but emotional stability, self-belief, and purpose. The person who appears calm while others panic, the one who doesn't seek approval, the one who doesn't flinch when challenged, that person rises above. People want to orbit around certainty. They crave leadership. They admire someone who seems untouchable by chaos. This is why the man who has built himself internally becomes magnetic. He doesn't have to convince anyone of his worth. It radiates from every controlled movement, every measured glance, every word spoken with intention rather than desperation. But here is the truth. This presence cannot be faked. You cannot slap on expensive clothes, puff your chest, and expect to command respect. People feel authenticity at a level beyond language. If your confidence is hollow, if your silence comes from insecurity rather than power, the world will sense it. The aura we speak of is not a costume. It is the byproduct of inner work. It comes from hours of discipline when no one was watching. It comes from battles fought within, against fear, against weakness, against the temptation to settle for mediocrity. Consider this. When a man truly knows who he is, when he lives by principles instead of impulses, when he has built competence and strength through relentless effort, he does not need to announce himself. He does not need to seek recognition, because recognition seeks him. His value is undeniable because it is rooted in reality. That is why people turn when he enters the room. They feel something different, something rare in a world obsessed with noise and validation. Most people live reacting to the world. They are desperate for approval, anxious for attention, and their energy screams neediness. But a man who has done the work radiates the opposite. He is centered. He is grounded. He is not looking for something from others. He brings something to them. His presence communicates abundance, of confidence, of strength, of direction. That abundance draws people in, just as gravity pulls everything toward it. Think of the greatest leaders, the most magnetic individuals throughout history. They didn't need to beg for loyalty. It came to them. They didn't demand respect. They embodied it. They understood that influence is not about control. It's about alignment. When you are aligned with your purpose, when you have conquered yourself, the world responds differently. People sense power because power is rare. So when you walk into a room and everyone turns, it's not because of luck. It's not because of manipulation. It's because you've built something inside that speaks louder than any words could. You've built discipline when others wasted time. You've built calm when others lived in chaos. You've built certainty in a world addicted to doubt. That energy cannot be hidden. It radiates silently, bending the space around you without effort. Ask yourself, what do you carry when you walk into a room? Desperation? Insecurity? A mask trying to cover the lack of substance? Or do you carry years of inner work, the quiet confidence that only comes from overcoming yourself? If you want the kind of aura that shifts energy, it starts long before the moment you enter that room. It starts in your habits, in your mindset, in the way you hold yourself when no one is watching. This is the silent power, the presence that commands without force. It is not for everyone, because it requires what most people refuse to give: time, effort, and self-mastery. But for those who choose it, the reward is undeniable. Influence becomes effortless. Respect becomes automatic. You stop chasing, because you've become the gravity others cannot resist. That is the tone. That is the truth. Power is not loud. Power is not desperate. Power does not ask for attention. It creates a reality where attention becomes inevitable, and it all begins inside you. Everything begins in the mind. Before a single word leaves your mouth, before your body language signals confidence or weakness, before you even enter the room, your mind has already written the script. The way you think shapes the way you move, the way you speak, and ultimately, the way the world responds to you. That's why the foundation of any powerful aura isn't physical strength, fashion, or status. It's mental mastery. Look at the men who command attention effortlessly. They don't always have the flashiest clothes or the biggest muscles. They carry something different: calm certainty. That certainty comes from an internal fortress built over time. It's not luck, it's discipline. It's the ability to govern the battlefield inside their own head, because that is where every external outcome begins. Your mind is the generator of energy. It projects into the world what you allow to live inside. If your thoughts are chaotic, fearful, and insecure, that energy bleeds through everything you do. People sense it. They might not be able to explain why, but they feel the tension, the doubt, the weakness. On the other hand, if your thoughts are disciplined, focused, and grounded in strength, people feel that too. It draws them in. It creates trust. It creates authority. Most people underestimate this because they live as slaves to their thoughts. They believe every fear, every doubt, every negative voice in their head as if it were truth. They wake up and immediately consume noise, scrolling social media, comparing themselves, absorbing negativity. Then they wonder why they feel powerless. They've surrendered the throne of their mind to chaos, and a chaotic mind cannot create a powerful presence. Mental discipline begins with awareness. You must become conscious of what you allow into your mind, because every thought plants a seed. Feed your mind garbage, and your energy will rot. Feed it strength, clarity, and purpose, and you'll radiate those qualities without trying. This is why practices like meditation, journaling, and self-reflection are not just spiritual fluff. They are tools for building internal command. When you meditate, you train your mind to detach from noise. You learn to observe thoughts instead of being ruled by them. This creates space between stimulus and response, the space where power lives. When you journal, you empty chaos onto paper and replace it with clarity. You process emotions, set intentions, and reinforce who you are becoming. These are not small acts. They are the foundation of everything you project into the world. A man who has mastered his mind does not need to force confidence. It flows naturally. Why? Because he has nothing to prove to himself. He doesn't seek validation because he already owns his identity. He is anchored in purpose, not tossed by the opinions of others. That calm certainty is magnetic because it is rare. In a world addicted to validation, the man who doesn't need it becomes a lighthouse. But here's the reality. Mental strength doesn't happen by accident. Just as you train your body in the gym, you must train your mind daily. Read books that challenge your thinking. Write down your goals and visualize them until they feel inevitable. Expose yourself to discomfort intentionally so that fear loses its grip. Replace weak language with strong language. Stop saying, "I can't," and start saying, "I will." Your words shape your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your reality. Power begins when you take responsibility for your inner state. Stop blaming the world. Stop blaming luck. Stop blaming circumstances. You control one thing absolutely: yourself. That control is your leverage. The man who cannot govern his own mind cannot lead anyone else. He will always be reactive, chasing, begging, hoping for power instead of radiating it. The aura that bends people to your will is not built by manipulation. It's built by mastery, and mastery starts inside. When you can control your emotions under pressure, people notice. When you can remain calm in chaos, people trust you. When you can choose your response instead of being driven by impulse, you elevate yourself above the masses. This is what mental power looks like in action. Think of this truth. Every room you enter is full of people battling noise in their heads, doubts, insecurities, fears. Most can't hide it because it leaks through in their posture, their tone, their frantic need for approval. Then you walk in, centered, unshaken, focused. You are not better than them, but you are different. And people feel that difference instantly. That difference makes them lean in. If you want this, you must make your mind a weapon, sharp, disciplined, and unbreakable. Wake up and take ownership of your thoughts before the world hijacks them. Begin your day with intention. Read something powerful, write something meaningful, sit in silence, and command your mind to obey you, not the other way around. Throughout your day, monitor your inner dialogue. Whenever fear or self-doubt appears, don't fight it with panic. Observe it, then replace it. This is how control is built: repetition, awareness, and deliberate practice. Because here's the truth: your energy doesn't lie. You can fake confidence for a moment, but eventually, people feel what's real. And the only way to project real strength is to build it inside. The more control you gain over your thoughts, the more control you gain over your life. And the more control you have over your life, the less you need to chase approval. Because you've become the source of approval for yourself. Power starts in the mind. Every aura, every presence, every shift in energy begins here. If you win this battlefield, the external world bends without resistance. Not because you force it, but because your energy commands it. When you master yourself, you don't need to demand respect. You become respect. You become the gravity others cannot escape. And all of that begins with one truth: control your mind, and you control everything. True confidence is not the loud voice in the room. It is not the man who needs to announce his presence or brag about his achievements. Real confidence is quiet, almost invisible, but it commands attention without effort. When a man carries himself with calm certainty, he doesn't need to say, "Look at me." The room looks on its own. This is the essence of unshakable confidence, silent power rooted in self-mastery. Why is it that some men walk into a space and instantly draw attention without uttering a single word? It's not because they are physically imposing or wearing the most expensive suit. It's because they radiate stability in a world that thrives on chaos. People crave security. They are drawn to strength that feels grounded, not fragile. And the man who moves with calmness, who looks like he is in no rush to prove anything, becomes magnetic. Confidence is not about being fearless. It is about being in control even when fear is present. The unshakable man does not live without challenges or doubt. He simply knows who he is regardless of the storm around him. That certainty cannot be faked for long because it is built through years of discipline, integrity, and keeping promises to yourself. You cannot lie to your soul and expect your aura to project truth. Most people confuse confidence with arrogance. Arrogance shouts. Confidence whispers. Arrogance needs the spotlight. Confidence becomes the spotlight. The arrogant man seeks approval. The confident man gives it without need. Arrogance leans on validation, while true confidence stands alone, whether praised or criticized. This is why loud confidence always feels fragile, because it is built on external factors. The unshakable confidence we speak of here comes from internal foundations that cannot be touched by applause or insults. What creates this inner certainty? Self-respect. And self-respect is born from action. You cannot think your way into confidence. You cannot affirm yourself into certainty while living a life that contradicts your words. Confidence grows every time you show up when you don't feel like it. It grows every time you keep a promise to yourself. Every rep in the gym, every disciplined choice, every moment you do the hard thing instead of the easy thing is a brick in the wall of confidence. This wall cannot be built overnight, but once it stands, no one can tear it down. The man who lacks confidence is easy to spot because he needs something from everyone. He needs recognition. He needs validation. He needs permission. That neediness creates desperation, and desperation repels. People instinctively move away from those who seem unstable because instability is a threat to survival. On the other hand, the man who needs nothing, who moves with quiet assurance, creates the opposite effect. He becomes a safe harbor in a world full of storms. Think about leadership. People do not follow the loudest voice. They follow the most stable presence. In a crisis, when emotions run high and everyone is panicking, who commands the room? the one who stays calm, the one who breathes slowly, speaks clearly, and projects order instead of chaos. That is confidence in its purest form, the ability to remain composed when everything else shakes. This is why confidence is a force of influence. It signals control, and control is power. But here is the trap. Many try to fake confidence because they want the results without the work. They practice body language tricks, memorize phrases, force eye contact, all while neglecting the internal foundation. This might fool a few people for a moment, but the illusion always cracks under pressure. Why? Because pressure reveals truth. When real challenges hit, only authentic confidence survives. Everything else collapses. Authentic confidence cannot be bought, borrowed, or borrowed from appearances. It is earned. It is the quiet reward of discipline. The man who knows he has trained his mind and body does not need to pretend. The man who has built skills and competence does not need to seek validation. He trusts himself because he has proven himself to himself. That is the only approval that matters because it cannot be taken away. Confidence also thrives in detachment. The man who does not cling, who does not beg, who does not fear loss moves differently. He negotiates differently. He dates differently. He works differently. Why? Because he is not desperate. And desperation is the enemy of respect. When you act from need, you give away power. When you act from choice, you command it. This is why unshakable confidence often feels like freedom, because it is. Notice how a confident man walks. There is no rush in his steps because he is not chasing anything. There is no stiffness because he is not trying to impress. He moves with ease, but not laziness, a balance of strength and calm. His eyes are steady because he is present, not lost in anxiety. He listens more than he speaks because he has nothing to prove. Every move is deliberate because it comes from control, not impulse. That is the posture of true power, not aggressive, not loud, but grounded. And this energy bends the world in subtle ways. People trust you more because you trust yourself. They follow you because they feel safe around you. Opportunities flow to you because confidence signals competence. Relationships improve because confidence attracts respect and eliminates the games born from insecurity. This is why unshakable confidence is not optional if you want influence. It is the foundation. How do you build it? Through repetition of the right habits, through embracing discomfort instead of avoiding it, through learning skills that make you valuable, but most importantly, through inner alignment, living in a way that matches the man you claim to be. Every lie you tell yourself weakens your confidence. Every excuse chips at your foundation. Every broken promise to yourself is a crack in the wall. On the other hand, every moment of integrity, every victory over laziness, every commitment honored, that builds an unbreakable fortress inside. You cannot control how people see you, but you can control how you see yourself. And when that vision is strong, clear, and aligned with action, people sense it without a word. That is why the most powerful men rarely feel the need to explain themselves. Their life speaks louder than their voice. Their energy enters the room before their words do. That energy says, "I am enough," and the world responds accordingly. Unshakable confidence is the ultimate freedom because it removes the chains of external approval. It makes you immune to trends, immune to gossip, immune to fear of judgment. It allows you to move through life with calm strength, focused on purpose instead of noise. This is not just attractive, it is unstoppable. Because the man who trusts himself cannot be controlled by others. And the man who cannot be controlled commands everything around him. So remember this, confidence is not about volume. It is about gravity. It is not about chasing attention. It is about becoming the kind of man attention cannot ignore. Not through force, but through presence. And presence comes from power within. Build that power. Earn that respect. Become the calm in the storm. And watch how the world bends toward your certainty. Mastering your emotions is the foundation of true power. Anyone can appear strong when life is easy, when everything goes according to plan, when everyone treats them with respect. But real strength is revealed in moments of pressure, in moments when the world tries to shake you, insult you, or push your buttons. That is when most people break. That is when most people lose control of themselves. And that is why the man who remains calm in chaos becomes unforgettable. Imagine this. Someone insults you in public. Most people would snap back, defend themselves aggressively, or even start a fight. Why? Because their ego feels attacked. Their emotions hijack their reason. They feel the need to react, to prove something, to win an argument that means nothing in the grand scheme of life. But the man who has mastered his emotions does something different. He does not flinch. He does not shout. He does not explain himself to anyone. He stays still, calm, collected. That silence, that unshakable composure, is louder than any reaction. It says everything without saying a word. You cannot control me. Power is not about controlling others. It is about controlling yourself. If someone can make you angry with a single comment, they own you in that moment. If someone can pull you into drama, they dictate your state. You become their puppet. This is why emotional control is rare and respected, because most people are slaves to their impulses. They react without thinking, and then they regret. They allow temporary feelings to destroy long-term peace. The man who does not fall into this trap stands out like a mountain in a storm. Being unreactive does not mean being passive. It does not mean letting people disrespect you endlessly. It means responding with intention, not reacting from emotion. There is a difference. Reaction is impulsive. Response is calculated. Reaction is born from ego. Response is born from strength. When you master your emotions, you decide when and how to act. Not your anger, not your fear, not your insecurity. Why is this important for building a powerful aura? Because people sense emotional instability immediately. They can feel when someone is easily triggered, always on edge, always defensive. That energy repels trust. Nobody respects a man who cannot control his own emotions, because if you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead others. On the other hand, a man who radiates calm, who seems unbothered by chaos, becomes magnetic. People feel safe around him because his energy does not shift based on the smallest event. Think of the leaders people admire. They are not the loudest, not the most reactive. They are the ones who stay grounded under pressure. When everyone else panics, they breathe slower. When others scream, they speak softer. They do not mirror the chaos, they neutralize it. That is what emotional mastery does. It turns you into a stabilizing force in a world addicted to drama. Emotional mastery begins with awareness. Most people don't even realize when they are triggered until after they explode. They live like emotional bombs waiting for someone to press the wrong button. If you want to master your emotions, you must first observe them. Feel anger rising. Notice it without acting on it. Feel insecurity creeping in. Acknowledge it without letting it dictate your behavior. This awareness creates a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap lies power. The longer you can hold that gap, the more control you have over your life. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. They taught that events themselves are neutral. It is our interpretation that creates suffering. Someone insults you? That is just words in the air. It only becomes pain if you give it meaning. Someone rejects you? That is just a fact. It only becomes humiliation if you attach your worth to it. The master of emotions sees reality as it is, not as his ego wants it to be. This perspective makes him untouchable. But emotional mastery is not only about resisting anger. It is about managing all impulses: fear, jealousy, desire, greed. How many men have destroyed their future because they could not control a moment of lust? How many ruined friendships because they could not swallow pride? How many lost opportunities because fear paralyzed them? Emotions are powerful forces. If you let them drive, they will crash your life. If you learn to drive them, they will take you further than you imagined. The practical question is, how do you master emotions? It starts with self-control in the small moments. When you feel the urge to check your phone every 2 minutes, resist. When someone cuts you off in traffic, breathe instead of honking. When you feel like arguing on social media, close the app. These small victories build emotional muscle. Over time, you become harder to shake. Eventually, you reach a level where insults roll off you like rain on stone. Another key is detachment from ego. Most emotional reactions are rooted in ego. How dare they disrespect me? What will people think? Ego is fragile because it depends on perception. The man who lives for ego will always be controlled by others. The man who lets go of ego cannot be manipulated. He does not need to win arguments. He does not need everyone to like him. He does not fear looking wrong because his worth does not depend on opinions. This detachment creates ultimate freedom. Mastering emotions also means regulating your internal state before external events can. Meditation, Deep breathing, journaling, exercise, these are not just wellness trends. They are tools of control. A man who takes 10 minutes in silence each morning is training his mind to stay calm when life screams at him. A man who lifts weights is training his body to handle stress so his mind doesn't break under pressure. These practices are not optional if you want to carry power without words. What does emotional mastery look like in daily life? It looks like patience when others rush. It looks like silence when others argue. It looks like walking away from drama instead of diving into it. It looks like smiling when insulted, not because you are weak, but because you refuse to give someone the satisfaction of controlling you. That smile says, "Your words cannot touch me." That is power. When you master emotions, your presence changes. People feel it. They see a man who does not flinch. They sense stability in a world full of volatility. This creates respect without effort. Women find it attractive because it signals security. Men admire it because they know how hard it is to achieve. Employers value it because it makes you reliable under pressure. Friends trust it because it brings peace, not drama. This one trait can open doors that talent alone cannot. But here is the truth. This mastery is not built in one day. It is a lifetime practice. Even the strongest will have moments of weakness. The goal is not perfection, it is progress. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you win. Each time you choose logic over impulse, you win. Each time you remain calm while others explode, you win. Over time, these wins stack into a character that no insult, no rejection, no chaos can break. So remember this. Power is not measured by how much you can control others. Power is measured by how little others can control you. And nothing controls people more than their own emotions. The man who cannot master himself will never master anything else. But the man who can, he becomes unshakable. He becomes magnetic. He becomes free. Do not aim to impress. Do not aim to dominate. Aim to master yourself. Because the greatest victory you will ever win is the one over your own impulses. When you reach that point, when insults feel like nothing, when fear cannot paralyze you, when anger cannot rule you, then you have become truly powerful. Then your aura speaks without words. I am in control. And the world, consciously or not, will bend to that energy. Powerful communication is not about speaking more. It's about speaking with purpose. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, the person who speaks less and commands more becomes magnetic. When you open your mouth too often, when every thought turns into words, your voice loses weight. People start tuning you out because you've given them too much. But when you are selective, when your words are rare, they carry value. They make people lean in. They make people listen. Think about the greatest leaders, the most respected individuals you know. Do they speak constantly? Do they fill every silence with chatter? No, they speak when it matters. They let silence do most of the work. They know something most people don't. Silence is not weakness, it's leverage. Silence makes people curious. It creates tension. It forces others to value the few words you do share because they are not diluted by noise. Speaking less does not mean saying nothing. It means choosing your moments. It means understanding that every word you speak either builds your power or weakens it. Every unnecessary comment, every ramble, every attempt to fill silence with meaningless chatter chips away at your presence. Meanwhile, the person who speaks only when necessary, who measures his words like gold, commands the room without trying. When you speak too much, you reveal too much. You show your emotions, your insecurities, your weaknesses. People begin to read you like an open book. They know what bothers you, what excites you, what scares you. And when people know everything about you, they can control you. But the person who speaks less remains a mystery. Mystery is magnetic because the human mind craves answers. When they don't know what you're thinking, they think about you more. They wonder. They guess. That attention builds power. Speaking less also signals confidence. Insecurity talks endlessly because it needs validation. It needs to fill the space to feel important. Silence, on the other hand, requires strength. To stay quiet when everyone else is talking means you are comfortable with yourself. It means you do not need to prove anything. You are not seeking approval. That calm control makes people respect you. They think, if he's not talking, he must be listening. If he's not rushing to speak, he must have something worth saying. Words are like currency. The more you print, the less they're worth. Inflation kills value. If you're always speaking, always sharing, always explaining, your words become cheap. But when you make them rare, when you spend them only on what matters, they become priceless. People start hanging on to your every sentence because they know you don't waste breath. So how do you develop this ability to speak less and command more? The first step is mastering the urge to respond instantly. Most people can't stand silence in conversations. Someone asks a question, and they rush to answer. Someone challenges them, and they rush to defend. Someone shares an opinion, and they rush to counter. This compulsion to fill the gap kills power. When you feel that urge, pause. Breathe. Let the silence stretch. That moment of stillness will make the other person lean in, waiting. It will make your eventual words sound more deliberate, more considered, more powerful. The second step is listening more than you speak. Most people don't listen, they wait to talk. They hear words, but they're not absorbing meaning because they're too busy preparing their response. You must reverse that. Truly listen. Observe the details. Understand the motives behind the words. The less you talk, the more you notice, and knowledge is power. People reveal everything if you give them space. They tell you their weaknesses, their fears, their ambitions. While they expose themselves through constant talking, you build leverage through silence. Third, remove the habit of explaining yourself unnecessarily. Weak people over-explain. They justify every decision, every opinion, every move because they crave approval. Strong people do not. If they say something, that's it. If they make a decision, they own it. Over-explaining not only makes you sound unsure, but also hands over control. The more details you give, the more chances people have to question, argue, or manipulate you. Speak your truth and let it stand without apology. Fourth, eliminate filler words and meaningless chatter. Every every like, every nervous joke chips away at your authority. Speak with clarity. Speak with intention. If you have nothing meaningful to say, say nothing. Silence is better than words that weaken you. This principle does not only apply in conversations, it applies to life. In meetings, do not be the person who comments on everything. Be the one who speaks once and changes the direction of the discussion. In social settings, do not be the one always telling stories to get laughs. Be the one who listens, observes, and delivers one comment that everyone remembers. In arguments, do not be the one screaming louder. Be the one who says one sentence that ends the fight. There is a psychological reason why this works. Scarcity creates value. The less people get of something, the more they want it. This applies to your words, your time, your energy. If you are too available, too talkative, too eager to share, people take you for granted. But if you make them wait, if you give less, they value more. They chase the meaning in every word because they know it's rare. Another benefit of speaking less is avoiding unnecessary conflict. Most drama in life comes from words spoken in haste, an insult thrown without thought, a secret shared without care, an opinion voiced without wisdom. The more you talk, the more mistakes you make. The more you stay silent, the less damage you cause. Silence is armor. It protects you from the battles that don't matter. But here's the key. Silence without presence is nothing. If you speak less, but look timid, if your body language screams insecurity, silence will not help you. You must combine fewer words with strong presence, steady posture, calm breathing, direct eye contact. When you do speak, do it slowly, clearly, without rushing. This combination makes people feel your power before they even process your words. History remembers those who spoke less, but said more. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journals, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's it. Simple, powerful, timeless. One line that carries more wisdom than 1,000 speeches. Great leaders throughout history knew this. Speeches can inspire, but silence commands. Silence also makes you unpredictable. People cannot read you easily. They don't know your next move. They don't know if you agree or disagree, if you're impressed or unimpressed. This uncertainty gives you control. When people can't predict you, they treat you with caution and respect. They think before they speak because they don't know where you stand. That psychological edge is priceless. This skill is hard to develop because our culture glorifies noise. Social media trains us to speak constantly, to share everything, to post every thought. People think visibility equals power. But the truth is the opposite. The more you reveal, the less you control. Real power thrives in mystery. Real influence does not need a spotlight. So here is the rule. Say less than necessary. Always. If 5 words will do, don't use 10. If silence says more than words, stay silent. Let people underestimate you. Let them wonder. Let them lean in. When you finally speak, make it count. Make it cut through the noise. Make it echo in their minds long after the conversation ends. When you master this, you will notice a shift. People will listen when you speak. They will seek your opinion instead of ignoring it. They will respect your presence without you begging for attention. Because in a world where everyone talks, the one who doesn't becomes the most powerful voice of all. So remember, words lose power when you use too many. Silence creates gravity. Speak with weight, not noise. Let others chase attention with endless chatter. You command the room with silence, then break it only when it serves a purpose. That is how you speak less and command more. Your body speaks before your mouth ever opens. Long before someone hears your voice, they read your presence. They scan your posture, your movement, your energy. And in that instant, they form an impression, strong or weak, confident or insecure, dominant or submissive. Most people never realize this truth. Communication begins silently, through the body. That is why building a powerful physical presence is not vanity. It is a necessity if you want influence, respect, and authority in any area of life. Imagine 2 men entering a room. One walks in with a rounded back, eyes on the floor, shoulders slouched. His steps are quick and uneven, as if he wants to disappear as soon as possible. The other enters with steady steps, chest open, head high, shoulders back. He doesn't rush. He moves as if the room belongs to him, but without arrogance. Which one do people notice first? Which one gets respect without saying a word? Which one attracts attention without effort? Always the second. That difference is not luck. It is the result of building physical presence intentionally. Your aura begins with your body. Strength is not just about lifting heavy weights. It is about signaling power through form, balance, and control. Weak posture sends a message. I am unsure. I lack confidence. Strong posture sends another message. I am grounded. I can handle myself. People believe what they see before they believe what you say. If your body says weakness, your words will never fully override it. But if your body says strength, people will listen before you even speak. Building a commanding physical presence starts with your frame. You cannot fake posture for long. Your body will always return to its default state. That is why training matters. Lifting weights, doing bodyweight exercises, practicing mobility, these are not just about aesthetics. They are about shaping the foundation of how you stand, move, and occupy space. When your muscles develop, when your core strengthens, your posture naturally improves. Your shoulders pull back, your chest opens, your neck aligns. This physical alignment radiates confidence because it signals health, capability, and control. Think of posture as silent language. A man who stands tall says, I am capable. A man who slouches says, I am defeated. It is that simple. Humans evolved to read posture as a survival mechanism. Strong posture meant strength, which meant protection, leadership, and genetic fitness. Weak posture meant vulnerability, submission, and lack of resources. This ancient programming still operates today. No matter how advanced our society becomes, our instincts remain the same. We respect strength, we dismiss weakness. Physical presence also shapes how you feel internally. When you sit hunched over, breathing shallow, your mind adopts a defeated state. When you open your chest, stand tall, breathe deep, your mind feels powerful. Body and mind are connected in a feedback loop. Change one, and you influence the other. That is why athletes and soldiers train relentlessly, not just for skill, but for posture and movement that reinforce confidence under pressure. Start by observing how you move through the world. Do you walk quickly, as if escaping? Slow down. Do you look down when you pass people? Lift your gaze. Do you fidget, shuffle, make small uncertain movements? Eliminate them. Stillness is strength. When you control your body, you project authority. People trust those who look composed, not those who look restless. Every unnecessary movement signals nervousness. Every calm gesture signals power. Physical presence is not about being the biggest guy in the room. It is about looking like you belong wherever you are. That comes from balance, strength combined with ease. If you are stiff and rigid, you look tense. If you are too loose and sloppy, you look careless. Aim for relaxed dominance. Upright posture, controlled gestures, steady pace. When you shake hands, do it firmly, not aggressively. When you sit, take space without sprawling. When you speak, use hand gestures deliberately, not randomly. Every movement should feel intentional. Another key element is eye contact. Weak body language often pairs with darting eyes, looking away, avoiding direct gaze. This screams insecurity. Strong presence meets eyes calmly, without staring aggressively. It's steady, not forced. It says, I see you, and I'm not afraid. Combine this with controlled breathing, slow, deep, through the nose, and your aura shifts immediately. Shallow, rapid breathing signals anxiety. Deep, slow breathing signals calm. People sense this even if they cannot explain it. Your voice is also part of physical presence because it comes from the body. A weak posture compresses your lungs and throat, making your voice sound thin and shaky. A strong posture opens your diaphragm, giving you resonance and depth. You don't need to speak loudly to sound powerful. You need to speak from a grounded body. This is why posture and breath control matter. A deep, calm voice commands attention without force. Clothing plays a role too, but not the way most people think. Clothes should fit your frame, not hide it. They should enhance your posture, not distort it. Baggy clothes make you look smaller and less structured. Clothes that fit properly highlight symmetry and strength. However, no outfit can compensate for poor posture or lack of confidence. Style is the final layer, not the foundation. Building physical presence takes consistency. It means training your body, not for vanity, but for power. Strength training builds not only muscle but also discipline, which shows in how you carry yourself. Mobility work keeps you fluid, preventing stiffness. Cardiovascular training keeps your energy high so you don't look drained and weak. Every workout is not just shaping your body, it's shaping the energy you project. But presence is more than mechanics. It is also about intent. You must move as if you have a purpose. People can sense when someone drifts aimlessly through life. They can also sense when someone walks with direction, even if they don't know what that direction is. Purpose shows in posture, in pace, in how you enter a room. Never rush. Rushing signals weakness, as if you're trying to escape judgment or seek approval. Walk slowly, deliberately. Stand as if you are rooted to the ground. These subtle signals make a huge difference in how people perceive you. Here is a truth most people ignore. The world rewards those who look powerful before they even prove it. First impressions are made in seconds. In that short time, no one knows your resume, your intelligence, or your intentions. They only know what they see and feel. If your presence says strength, they respect you. If your presence says weakness, they dismiss you. Fair or not, that is reality. So why not use it to your advantage? Do not mistake presence for intimidation. You do not need to look angry, aggressive, or arrogant. Real presence is calm, not loud. It says, I am in control of myself, and therefore, I am in control of my space. People feel safe around this energy because it signals stability. Unstable energy, frantic gestures, restless movements, desperate chatter, makes people uncomfortable. Stable energy makes them drawn to you. If you want to bend people to your will, start here. Before you master persuasion, influence, or leadership, master the body that carries you. Let your posture speak confidence. Let your movements speak purpose. Let your presence enter the room before your words do. Because when you build a strong physical presence, people feel your strength before they understand it, and that is power. Every time you stand, every time you walk, every time you interact, ask yourself, what is my body saying right now? Am I projecting strength or weakness? Am I commanding respect or asking for it? Your body answers before your words do. Train it, shape it, own it. Because the language of the body is the oldest and most persuasive language in the world. In a world where people chase attention with noise, you can command it with silence and presence. No gimmicks, no tricks, just the undeniable energy of someone who has mastered himself. And that mastery begins with the body. Build strength. Stand tall. Move with purpose. Your aura will do the rest. Energy and purpose are the invisible forces that shape how the world responds to you. They cannot be faked. They cannot be purchased. They cannot be borrowed from someone else. True energy and true purpose come from within, built over time, forged in the fire of discipline and clarity. When a man knows where he is going, the entire way he moves through life changes. His posture changes. His tone changes. His presence becomes magnetic, and people feel it without him saying a word. The truth is, most people drift. They wake up without a plan, scroll aimlessly, chase distractions, live for temporary pleasures, and wonder why no one respects them. Why no one follows them. Why they feel invisible. It's because they lack the one thing that separates men who command attention from men who beg for it. Purpose. Purpose is the ultimate amplifier of energy. Without it, you are scattered, unfocused, and forgettable. With it, you become unshakable. A man with purpose is like a river cutting through rock. Nothing can stop him because his direction is clear. He does not waste energy on things that don't matter. He does not beg for validation. He does not need applause because his mission gives him meaning. People sense this energy. They see a man who moves with intent, who knows what he stands for, and they respect it, even if they don't fully understand it. That respect turns into curiosity, and that curiosity often turns into influence. Energy is not about hype or loudness. It is not about shouting your dreams to the world or bragging about your grind. Real energy is quiet but powerful. It is the look in your eyes when you know where you are going. It is the calmness in your voice when you don't need to prove anything. It is the discipline in your habits when everyone else is distracted. This energy cannot be faked because it comes from doing the work, from showing up every day, from building something real. Distractions are everywhere. Social media, gossip, parties, endless entertainment. These are traps designed to steal your energy. A man without purpose falls into them easily because he has nothing stronger pulling him forward. But a man with purpose becomes immune. He doesn't need to force himself to avoid distractions because his mission is more compelling than any temporary thrill. That's why purpose is not just a concept. It's a shield. It protects your time, your focus, your life. When you see someone working in silence, deeply focused on their craft, you are witnessing real power. No need for attention, no need for noise, just pure intent. That kind of energy attracts people naturally. Why? Because most people lack it. In a world full of chaos, someone with direction feels rare. They feel grounded. And that grounded energy becomes magnetic. People are drawn to certainty because they themselves are uncertain. They follow strength because they themselves feel weak. But purpose does not appear by magic. It must be discovered, then chosen, then pursued relentlessly. You do not find your purpose like a coin on the ground. You create it through action. Start by asking, what do I want my life to mean? What do I want to build? What problems am I willing to suffer for? Purpose is tied to struggle. It's not about doing what feels good every day. It's about committing to something so important to you that you're willing to endure pain for it. Because purpose without sacrifice is just a wish. When you live without purpose, your energy leaks. You wake up tired because you have nothing to wake up for. You chase cheap dopamine because it's the only spark you feel. You depend on external validation because you have no internal fire. But when you live with purpose, energy multiplies. You wake up before the alarm because you are pulled by something bigger. You don't need motivation because discipline becomes natural. You feel alive because your life has meaning. People notice this difference instantly. They might not articulate it, but they feel it. They see it in the way you carry yourself, in how you talk, in what you choose to do with your time. A man with purpose doesn't gossip, doesn't waste hours arguing online, doesn't chase meaningless drama. His life is too valuable for that. This quiet confidence makes people lean in. They start asking questions. What drives him? Why does he seem so focused? What makes him so sure of himself? That curiosity is the beginning of influence. Energy is contagious. Spend time around aimless people, and you start feeling aimless. Spend time around driven people, and you feel the push to rise. The same applies to you. When you radiate purpose, you elevate everyone around you. People want to be near that energy because it makes them feel stronger. That is why true leaders attract followers without begging. They lead by example, not by demand. They lead because their life speaks louder than any motivational speech. But there's a trap. Many men think purpose means chasing fame or wealth. They believe their mission must be grand and visible to matter. This is false. Purpose is not about impressing others. It's about building something that aligns with your values and potential. It can be creating art, building a business, raising a family, serving a community, mastering a skill. The scale doesn't matter. What matters is commitment. A man committed to something meaningful will always have more presence than a man chasing empty attention. Purpose also sharpens your decision-making. When you know your mission, choices become simple. Does this move me closer or farther from my goal? If closer, do it. If not, ignore it. This clarity saves mental energy and prevents hesitation. Indecision drains power. Purpose eliminates it. People sense this decisiveness, and it makes them trust you. A man who hesitates, who second-guesses everything, signals weakness. A man who moves with conviction signals strength. Here's the paradox. When you stop chasing people and start chasing your purpose, people start chasing you. Not because you begged for their attention, but because you became rare. In a world of noise, you became focused. In a world of desperation, you became grounded. That contrast creates attraction, whether in business, friendship, or love. The more you commit to becoming the best version of yourself, the more opportunities flow toward you. But this requires patience. Purpose is not built overnight. It is a lifelong process. There will be days of doubt, days when progress feels invisible, days when quitting seems easier. Those days are tests. If you push through them, your energy becomes unbreakable. Every time you keep going when it's hard, your presence grows stronger. Because true power is not in what you achieve, it's in the man you become while pursuing it. The energy you carry into a room is the sum of your habits, thoughts, and priorities. If those are weak, your presence will be weak. If those are strong, your presence will be undeniable. That is why purpose is the ultimate foundation. Without it, you are like a candle in the wind, flickering, inconsistent, easily blown out. With it, you are like the sun, steady, powerful, impossible to ignore. So ask yourself, what is my purpose? And if you don't know yet, commit to finding it. Start by eliminating distractions. Create space for clarity. Write down what matters most to you. Experiment. Take action. Purpose is revealed through doing, not dreaming. Once you find it, protect it fiercely. Build your life around it. Let every decision serve it. When you do this, your energy transforms. You stop being another face in the crowd and become a force that bends the environment to your will. Because here's the truth. People do not follow noise, they follow power. And power comes from alignment. Your actions, your values, and your purpose moving as one. That alignment radiates through everything you do. It shows in your eyes, in your voice, in your presence. You cannot fake it. You cannot hide it. You either have it or you don't. So build it, live it, and watch how the world begins to move around you. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy made it inevitable. When you have purpose, you no longer chase. You attract. Not because of tricks or manipulation, but because certainty is magnetic. People are drawn to those who know where they are going because it gives them hope. It gives them something to believe in. And in a world full of confusion, that is priceless. So stop scattering your energy on things that don't matter. Stop living for approval. Stop wasting your life in distractions. Decide who you want to become. Commit to the mission. Work in silence. Move with intent. Let your purpose shape your energy until it becomes so strong, so undeniable, that when you walk into a room, people feel it before they see you. That is the power of energy and purpose. The Stoic law of power begins and ends with a single truth. Control yourself, and the world bends in your favor. This is not superstition. It is not about tricks, manipulation, or dominance over others. It is about the deepest mastery a man can achieve, the mastery of his own mind. For thousands of years, philosophers, leaders, and warriors understood this principle. The man who conquers himself becomes unshakable. He becomes the calm center in a storm of chaos, and people naturally gravitate toward him because strength is rare. The Stoics taught that external things are not fully in your control. Fortune, fame, love, respect, even life itself. But one thing always remains under your control: your thoughts, your choices, your responses. This is the core of Stoic philosophy, and it is also the foundation of true power. Not the shallow power of fear or intimidation, but the silent power that comes from composure, discipline, and purpose. Imagine two men standing in a room. One reacts to every little inconvenience, every insult, every delay. His face twitches with irritation, his words spill without thought, his energy screams insecurity. The other man remains calm. His posture is steady, his gaze firm, his tone controlled. He does not need to explain himself. He does not need to react. He is grounded, unshaken by things outside his control. Who do you think holds more power? Who commands more respect without saying a word? The answer is obvious. The one who controls himself. When Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He was pointing to the same principle. Mastery of self creates freedom, and freedom creates influence. People often think control means dominating others. But the truth is the opposite. The more you try to control others, the weaker you become. Because power is never about forcing. It is about magnetism. And magnetism begins with self-command. What does this look like in real life? Start with your emotions. The quickest way to lose power is to be controlled by them. Anger, jealousy, fear. When these rule you, you are no longer leading. You are being led by impulses. People sense that instability and instinctively withdraw respect. On the other hand, when you remain calm under pressure, when you refuse to be triggered by insults, when you walk away from drama instead of drowning in it, people notice. They might not say it, but they feel it. This man is different. That feeling is power. Look at history. The greatest leaders were not the loudest, not the most impulsive, but the most composed. Julius Caesar, Marcus Aurelius, Alexander the Great. They commanded armies, yet their true strength was internal. They practiced restraint when others exploded. They stayed collected when others panicked. That composure created trust, and trust created influence. The same law applies today. In business, relationships, negotiations, he who controls himself always holds the advantage. Why? Because control gives clarity. Most people make decisions from emotion, then justify them with logic later. They speak before thinking. They act before analyzing. They destroy relationships, careers, and opportunities because they cannot master the space between stimulus and response. That space, the pause before reaction, is where power lives. When you lengthen that space, you gain control. You gain time to think, to assess, to choose the best move. That is how you stay 3 steps ahead while everyone else plays checkers with their emotions. Another dimension of self-control is desire. Many men today are ruled by it. The need to be liked, the hunger for approval, the craving for attention, validation, and love. These desires make you weak because they make you dependent. The man who begs for attention is never respected. The man who chases desperately is never admired. Why? Because dependence is the opposite of power. Power comes from independence, emotional independence, financial independence, mental independence. When you don't need anything from anyone, you become untouchable. People sense that, and paradoxically, it makes them want to give you everything. This is why the Stoics preach detachment. Not detachment from life, but from the illusion of control over external things. They understood, when you stop clinging, you become free. And when you are free, you are powerful. Because nothing can be used against you. Criticism does not shake you. Rejection does not break you. Loss does not destroy you. When you operate from this state, people feel it. They see someone who is not owned by opinions, trends, or circumstances. That calm confidence is magnetic because it is so rare in a world addicted to reaction. How do you build this? Through discipline. Power is not born from comfort. It is forged in discomfort. Wake up early when you want to sleep. Train when you want to rest. Speak with intention when you want to spill words. Control small things first. Your schedule, your habits, your diet. If you cannot control what you eat or how you spend your time, how can you control your life? Every act of discipline strengthens the chain of command within you. Eventually, you no longer need willpower because control becomes identity. Meditation is another tool the Stoics embraced, not as a spiritual trend, but as mental training. When you sit in silence and observe your thoughts without reacting, you are building the muscle of control. You learn that a thought is just a thought, not a command. You learn to create space between impulse and action. That space is where power resides. Over time, this mental stillness becomes second nature. You stop living as a slave to urges and start living as a master of choice. Now, some men hear this and think, but if I control myself too much, won't I seem cold or robotic? No, true self-mastery is not suppression, it's alignment. It is not about killing emotion, it's about directing it. Anger becomes drive. Fear becomes alertness. Desire becomes ambition. You don't deny these forces, you command them. Like a general leading an army, you deploy them strategically instead of letting them run wild. That is the difference between chaos and command. And here is the paradox. The more you control yourself, the more others feel compelled to follow your lead. Not because you force them, but because control radiates strength. People trust stability. They are drawn to certainty. In a room full of men reacting, the one who remains composed becomes the anchor. He becomes the reference point. People look to him for guidance because his calmness signals security. That is why self-mastery creates influence without effort. So when you hear the quote, "He who controls himself, controls others," understand it is not about domination. It is about presence. Influence flows to the man who needs nothing, who fears nothing, who depends on nothing external for his peace. That man cannot be manipulated, bribed, or broken. He moves with intention because he has trained himself to be the master within. And because he owns himself fully, he is impossible to ignore. This is the Stoic law of power. Your kingdom is not the world, it is your mind. Rule it, and the external world will reflect your strength. Neglect it, and you will always live as a servant to chaos, no matter how much money or status you chase. The choice is simple but not easy. Will you live as a slave to impulse or as a master of self? If you choose mastery, start now. Build discipline. Train your emotions. Direct your energy. Become the calm in the storm. Because when you do, you will no longer need to chase power. Power will flow to you naturally. Because the greatest power a man can have is this: absolute control over himself in a world where everyone else is losing theirs. Power has nothing to do with chasing, persuading, or forcing others to follow you. Those who force attention, who try to dominate through noise and aggression, never hold influence for long. Their control is shallow, temporary, and fragile. Real power is silent. It does not beg, it does not demand, it does not cling. It simply is. It draws people the way gravity draws planets. Quiet, invisible, unbreakable. This is the power you must aim for, the kind that requires no announcement because everyone feels it the moment you enter a room. Think about gravity itself. It never says a word, yet everything revolves around it. Why? Because it has mass. It has weight. It stands still while everything else orbits in alignment. This is the metaphor for a powerful aura. You cannot bend others to your will by pulling them with desperation or pushing them with force. That creates resistance. It makes people want to run. But when you become strong, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you create a presence that cannot be ignored. People move toward strength because strength provides stability in a chaotic world. Picture this. You walk into a room. You do not need to speak loudly or seek validation. You do not rush to be noticed. You carry yourself with calm certainty. Your posture is upright. Your eyes are steady. Your movements are deliberate, never frantic. You radiate a sense of purpose, as if you know who you are and where you're going. You have no need to impress because you already belong. People notice. They feel something they cannot fully explain, but they know it. They feel drawn. This is not magic. This is gravity. And gravity is earned through strength. What creates this gravitational pull? Not charm, not manipulation, not flashy words or fake confidence. It comes from authentic power, the kind built through discipline, character, and resilience. When you master yourself, you separate from the masses who live as slaves to impulse and emotion. Most people today are reactionary. They get triggered by words, lose control under pressure, and need constant validation to feel worthy. When you become the opposite, when you remain calm when others panic, confident when others doubt, focused when others distract, you stand out. You become rare, and rarity is valuable. People chase what they cannot easily find. But becoming gravity is not about arrogance. It is not about thinking you are above others. It is about being anchored. It is about building such a strong foundation within yourself that you never have to cling to anyone or anything. You are whole on your own. That wholeness gives people comfort because deep down, everyone craves stability. In relationships, in friendships, in leadership, people follow those who can handle storms without being moved. If you are that person, you become the center others naturally orbit. The question is, how do you build this kind of presence? It begins with understanding that power is internal before it is external. You cannot fake this. You cannot put on a mask of confidence while your life is chaotic behind the scenes. True gravity is a byproduct of alignment, mind, body, and purpose working in harmony. You must become someone who lives by principles, not impulses. Someone who speaks with weight, not noise. Someone who takes action instead of making empty promises. First, you need a mission. Without purpose, you drift. And if you drift, people sense it. They feel uncertainty in your presence. Purpose gives direction, and direction gives energy. A man with a mission radiates focus. He doesn't need to announce his plans. He lives them. And because he lives them, people trust him. They know he is going somewhere, and they want to be near that movement. That is why your first step to building gravity is to know what you stand for, what you want, and what you will never compromise on. Second, you need discipline. Power dies in comfort. Weakness grows in laziness. Every time you choose ease over effort, you shrink. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you lose respect for yourself, and so does the world. But when you keep your word to yourself, when you show up even when it's hard, when you train your body and your mind consistently, you stack victories. These victories compound into unshakable confidence. Not the loud, fake kind, but the quiet assurance that says, I trust myself because I have proven myself. Third, you must master your emotions. Nothing destroys power faster than being controlled by feelings. Anger makes men reckless. Fear makes men hesitate. Desire makes men desperate. The man who cannot govern himself becomes a puppet for circumstance. But the man who can remain calm when insulted, who can stay composed when tempted, who can stand still when others panic, that man commands respect without asking for it. People look to him because they trust his steadiness. This is why emotional control is non-negotiable for those who want real influence. Fourth, you must embrace solitude. Weak men cannot be alone because they fear themselves. They constantly seek distraction, noise, validation, attention, because silence exposes their lack of identity. But strong men use solitude as a weapon. They read, they think, they create, they train, they sharpen their mind while others numb theirs. This time alone builds clarity. It removes the need to cling to others. And when you no longer need anyone, everyone wants to be around you. That is the paradox of power. Independence attracts more than dependence ever could. Finally, you must embody strength, not just mentally, but physically. Your body is a reflection of your discipline. The way you stand, the way you walk, the way you carry yourself, it all signals something before you even open your mouth. Train your body. Improve your posture. Move with intention. Every detail matters because your presence speaks before you speak. If your presence whispers weakness, no words can save you. But if your presence radiates strength, you don't even need words. And here's the truth most men don't want to hear. This is not built overnight. You cannot fake gravity for long. People eventually see through the act. You must become it. That means years of consistent work, building layer upon layer of strength, clarity, and composure. Most will never do it because it's hard. That's why so few have real power. That's why so few can walk into a room and shift the energy without saying a word. But if you do the work, if you build yourself into a man of depth, discipline, and direction, you will reach a point where you no longer chase influence. Influence chases you. When you reach that level, life changes. Opportunities flow to you. People respect you without question. Women admire you without effort. Men follow you without resistance. Not because you force them, but because they feel it. They feel the weight of someone who knows himself, who controls himself, who moves with intention. That is gravity. That is the silent power that bends the world without a sound.